What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your daily creative reading for October 7th. It is laundry day, and I thought I would do a different angle in this room. Yeah. So we'll hop on in. The cats have been absolutely just there's so like you'd think it was a herd of horses running back and forth, but it's just the zoomies. Like this is like goodness, and with the kitten being more present, my darling Eva is less impressed or enamored, but still they're just like rocketing back and forth. I can hear them in the hall, so I thought, you know what, I will let them get their track and field practice out, training for the Olympics, whatever they're doing. So we'll do this in here. Okay. Spirit, what messages do you have for October 7th, please? October 7th. And to any other Canadians possibly celebrating, my peeps, happy Thanksgiving weekend. It's really just like turkey and family weekend, I guess. Family of all kinds. Ooh, Angel of Jupiter Awaken. That's some pretty sweet energy. That's great. Oh, that feels good. That just feels delightful. I have like goosebumps. So Angel of Jupiter Awaken. Spirit, can you... Wow, self-initiation. I don't know. There we go. Self-initiation. A 6 and a 12. Derivatives is what I'm hearing. Derivatives. Man of the earth, woman of the sky. This almost strikes me as like the non-binary card in this deck. I love it. Man of the earth, woman of the sky. Because in a lot of ways, a lot of meditations that I've worked with depict masculine energy as relating to the sky and feminine energy as relating to the earth. So I feel like this is kind of like the non-duality a little bit. A little bit of that. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay. We'll pull our hero's journey spread and we'll go through. But this Angel of Jupiter Awaken, I almost feel like this is like, there's this fun-loving, I'm hearing like fun-loving part of you or part of your energy it's like it's safe for, and it's not just inner child energy, it's like the integrated adult that has both. It's like this safety to come out and play. Like this side of you is emerging. But this self-initiation too, this could be a way that you could be working with energy in your energy centers. So it could also be, like self-pleasure and using energy in that way in order to move energy through your body. And also to use it in a healing way and things like that. So it could be what this is here. Self-initiation can also just be you committing something to yourself, like these little promises that we make to ourselves, right? In terms of like, it could be vows, but it's sometimes just these promises you make to yourself, and you commit, where we say like, I'll commit it to memory. It's like you commit it to some container within you, be it love or be it something else. And that, it's like it shifts the energy and helps it move more, or it might be the opposite of that. And the stagnancy, maybe something to think about. We'll get more into the spread, but I feel like there's some kind of, I don't want to say like a switch, but I feel like this is like maybe a switch is flipped in you, but this definitely strikes me as like non-binariness. So it could be non-binary folks. I mean, like, hey, yours truly, but more than that, the way that, so I use the pronouns they, them, and people often ask me about that. And, I say he, they, I prefer they, them. But what I find with that, people have asked me like, well, how does that work? Because it's a plural. And I say, yes, that's exactly the point, because there's a plurality of genders within me expressing themselves in a multidimensional way. That's the best way that I see it. Because as a non-binary person, I mean, I'm more trans-masc leaning, and like, I love even just this little bit of facial hair. It's so good. But there's like the embodied part as well that I enjoy in terms of non-binariness. So it's this beautiful coming together of things, and understanding the way that we can polarize our experiences, not just of gender, but of ideas that we have. Ooh, sneeze coming. I'm so sorry if I did that in your ear. I tried to do it off to the side, but I don't know if it worked. But I'm allergic to gender binary. That's what that is. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so I feel like there's a way that you're maybe working with this, and it could be just expressing yourself through a spectrum of experience or a spectrum of light or love, even, right? Like the ways that it comes together for you, as opposed to believing that it has to be one or the other of something, right? Either or thinking, and it's really just black and white thinking. So, Spirit, what messages do you have for the main, for this spread, for the Hero's Journey spread, please? Oh, I don't know if my cat's trying to get in the room. Let's go and see if she's there. I feel like it's like a kid's show. Like, who's at the door? Oh, it's just my cat. And we're back. Okay, so, ooh, the call to adventure is the Hierophant. And I almost feel like this is like, this feels a bit like dedicating yourself to something, a bit of devotion here, like devoted to a career, possibly. I'm also feeling like there's like a change. Like, so, yeah, there's an Eight of Cups at the bottom. Like, there's some kind of change. That might be part of the initiation too, right? This self initiation. Because this strikes me as a sort of initiatory process, this Eight of Cups. I also see it in terms of eclipse energy with this. It's almost like the moon and the sun are eclipsing one another here. So it could be there's like change brought about by something along those lines that's a little bit abstract at the get go. And then as it progresses forward, it's something more. I'm so these are the energies on the bottom here, and I get that there's something that you need to face because I'm looking what came to mind. I was looking at them very quickly, and it was just I was like, "Where's the face?" Like, there's no maybe there's something you need to face, or there's like this way that you're kind of on a loop with like overthinking doing, but are you doing the things that are going to get you where you want to go, or are you doing the things that will just keep you busy? And then this like wanting or like observing but never getting or having or willing yourself to believe that you can have. So it could be something along those lines as well. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about this refusal energy, Spirit? Whoa. Oh, the refusal. Maybe you know what this is coming across as? Wow, that's so strong. This is like never. It's like one of those never again vows, but like not letting other people take your energy. Or there's something about that where it's like it's like the way that conflict was viewed, and it's so interesting because they're making off with the Five of Swords, and you're left with the two, and that was the card that just came out with the two. So it's almost like you're left with this sort of feeling of why did something happen, right? And I would invite you, so I'm going to pull this up here just so that it's in my face more. um Whoops, sorry, I'm clicking things. I would invite you to consider, and I say this with experience with this myself. Sometimes things happen and we don't have answers as to what's going on. Sometimes we like things happen and there's no logical explanation for it. Sometimes we have to sit with that because closure isn't meant for specific things. And that can be really hard, right? Like as I say, like it's my Aquarian energy and the abundance of it and all this stuff. But sometimes it's just nice to know that something happened for a specific reason to do with something to do with someone else when it hurt you. Like when something really, really hurt you, it's good to know. But the thing is that this is where you can choose to be devoted to yourself and to it's like a commitment to something that nourishes you. That's a sort of faith giving as opposed to faith and hope taking. So it's almost like closure. Like maybe there was closure that you were looking for, but you're coming to understand. You're coming to understand the spectrum, like that things exist on, and that the actually existing nature of what's happening and what's going on. That they are really just. It's like this is where it's like you're initiating yourself perhaps into a new cycle, and that's where this angel of Jupiter. You could have a guardian angel named Jupiter. I've always liked the name January, but you could have a guardian angel like that. I'm seeing I think it's like Pluto is like Goofy's dog. My guides are probably cartoon characters, so forget it. But I think there's something here about Angel of Jupiter Awaken where it's like there's this part of you that is almost existing in either like 5D or another part of you that is waking up to your divinity. It's waking up to your infinitude. It's waking up to this aspect of yourself that wasn't necessarily sleeping, but it also wasn't awake in an activated way, not a dysregulated activated way, but just a way that was like present with you wherever you were. Like it might have been a part of you that you pushed away, because when parts of us awaken and we haven't really done this sort of work of initiating ourselves into something beyond conflict, right? We can kind of draw, I think it's Maya Angelou said something along the lines of like, over giving, it's like it alerts all the people in the neighborhood, the takers in the neighborhood, that you're there, something along those lines, right? And I think she was talking about it in terms of perception. I'm possibly botching the quote, but when I heard it, it was like a huge shift for me. And it's like you can't like the alert that you would put out into the neighborhood, it might be changing, it might have shifted, and that's where this angel of Jupiter awaken is there, where it might have been, I'm seeing too like a goal light behind the hockey net. Some stereotypes are true. It's fine. But being around Toronto, you'd think it would be the Toronto Maple Leafs. No, my friends, Colorado Avalanche. But this self-initiation, it's almost like this light. Like it would be this like light that would go off and tell other people that you were, ready to overgive now, right? There's certain signals that you would see, and this isn't victim shaming. No. This is taking an honest look at behaviors. I've had to do this myself because as an overgiver, right? What behaviors alert other people to the fact that I am somebody who they could take advantage of? And that's where you just put boundaries in that say, actually, this is how it is. This is how much information you're allowed to get, because I'm an over explainer, right? That's one of the things I know I do. So it's like, this is how much information I'm going to give you about this. And that's it. Like there's no need to justify or explain. So it's like freeing yourself from that. But nonetheless, it's like that red light that would say like over here. And now it's sort of changed to a different color that blends a little bit differently. So it's almost like there's some way that you're now turning that light that would alert other people. It's like your guides have shifted the light in you. It could also be that there's something to do with root energy. So your sense of security and stability in the world is aligning and lining up. And it's actually hitting your heart center in a completely different way. And that's what's allowing this shift in your energy to take place. And it's causing this sort of rebalancing of other energy centers from a more non-dual perspective, where it's like you're able to see peace and reach it a little bit more differently. And, I've been contemplating sovereignty in terms of being able to make choices for ourselves, yes, but sovereignty in terms of like when really bad things happen. Sovereignty is saying that might have happened to me, but I am choosing to allow it to become something for me. I am choosing to allow that to become something that liberates me. And that's the ultimate in sovereignty, isn't it? Is where we can see something that was horrible and turn it into gold, turn it into magic, because the magic is within us. So it's really just, yeah. And that's, yeah, again, stuff that I've gone through too. So if you're in that place, I feel you. I'm sending a lot of love your way if that's the case, because, yeah, a lot of stuff we can't control, but we can always control ourselves. 9 of Cups. So I think this refusal, it's almost like when you recognize your value, there are certain things that just can't come with you, right? There are certain things that have to fall away by virtue of the fact that it's just not compatible energy. Because I'm not a huge fan. I don't know how to word this. There are certain places I don't like to eat anymore. So if I go to those places, if I, hang out with people who like to eat there, and that's the only place they like to eat, there's going to be an incompatibility in other ways. And this is just very surface stuff. Okay. I'm not saying live in the surface like this, but, there are things and ways that all of that energy, can work, where it's like, it can come down to behaviors, right? And then you start to, what you don't or may not understand fully at the time is that by hanging out with specific people or around energies on a regular basis, the relationships, I think it was Tony Robbins and many others along the way too, have said that like, show me the 5 people you spend the most time with and I will show you where you will be in 5 years. And that's not wrong, right? It's not wrong, because the behaviors that we engage in most often dictate what of our own energy is accessible to us. So that's part of this here too. So I do feel like this is either a deepening of commitment or a readying yourself. Like the call is commitment. It could be like, I'm almost seeing like this sort of the door going into Hogwarts in Harry Potter. I think towards one of the last movies, it like clicks open. Could even be the Chamber of Secrets, that one where like the snake opens and like it's just all these locks that go all the way up the door. But I'm seeing that on a floor where something is shifting and it's unlocking a staircase that goes up, and like the staircase is going up so that you can then take it's like almost maybe a part of an ascension process where you had to unlock this part of yourself. Whatever it is happening fast. Nonetheless, this is the tower energy. So what could become a tower if it goes unchecked? And I feel like the Knight of Swords is saying that there's something about speed, and it's like not everything is going to be done overnight. And you almost have to liberate yourself from the idea that you have to have it done yesterday. Because when you're in this, when emotional fulfillment is at play, when it's on the board in any capacity, right? In any capacity, you can't really put a timeline on that because the actions, like it exists outside of time, right? If you're in the place of like, I've got to get this done by this time, and it's not a thing that operates within deadlines in that way. Instead, it operates within energy. It's like confusing two different things for one another, and that will frustrate your energy. So when the Nine of Cups, when emotional fulfillment is at play, it's like you could say, like, for example, with a move for me, like I know that that's coming, but there's so many other things that are starting to fall into place just beautifully that I knew would come. But if I got stuck in timing, if I got stuck in, it has to have the big picture done by this time, it would not have gone, it would not be going as well, right? So, and I know too that like there's a lot like in terms of packing and things like that, like that's this space will be packed up soon, but there's so much that's taking place within that. So I think it's like you have to really liberate yourself. You have to liberate yourself from the idea that it has to be any other way. Your protagonist energy is your capacity to do just that, to liberate yourself, to both pour out and to be poured into. So perhaps accepting help, and your antagonist energy is the Queen of Pentacles, which tells me a little bit about the fact that if you neglect self-care right now, there's something about being poured into that was very prominent in the protagonist energy. So if you neglect that, that's where the antagonist energy is coming in. It's not so much the figure itself. It's like an energy that shows up as an oppositional to the extent that you do not allow that energy to flow within you. So what's the challenge here, Spirit? This was on the, oh, wow. This was inside the deck. Like all the cards were like this, and it was like this. So I think the main challenge is fear of heartbreak. There's a bit of Swords energy here, which tells me that some of it is just rearranging your thinking. It's like moving furniture around in a room, right? These two cards came out. Wow. So the overcoming here is, I think it's like overcoming stories that you might have told yourself about deserving, but it's also stories that you might have told yourself that are so grounded in ego, like not having. And there's always going to be hundreds of reasons to fear the good, to fear the new, to fear taking leaps, to fear, even commitment, right? And this could be, if you're coming here with a relationship on your mind, it could be a commitment. Like it could be, commitment. Fear of commitment is not necessarily fear of commitment. The way I see it is like fear of commitment is more so about, what are you fearing a loss of when you think about that? So commitment is like the surface thing. It's like the iceberg, right? That's the part of the iceberg that you see, but everything else under the surface. And I'm not saying, do the work for other people, but I'm saying that usually there's so much more underlying it. And I feel here that if this is your energy, there could be something that was like, you could have been caught up in like past heartbreaks, and like any time that you had done X, Y, and Z thing, be it, throwing yourself into in a healthy way, but throwing yourself into the throes of commitment and passion, right? But don't lose yourself in that. Or it could be, being really excited about work that you're doing, or projects, or a business, or anything where you devote, like it's this devotion energy, right? What I think about is one of my aunts is very Catholic, and I adore her very much. And she goes to church multiple times a week, and that's like devotion, right? Do I adhere to the same beliefs? No, but I absolutely respect how devoted she is to her faith. So it's like that kind of. It's sort of what came to mind with this is like that devotion energy, where it's like you're saying to something or someone, you can have all of me. You can have all of me. Right. In that, there's, okay. So several thoughts are trying to get through, and there's one lane, but they're all anyways. when that comes out of my mouth, what I think of is the number of times where it's like the number of times that can go in an unhealthy direction. So, in terms of codependency and things like that. But when you heal that, or you're on the path to healing, and you recognize that that's your pattern, you can say the words and mean them, and you can also be in that energy, and it just feels different, because you're not saying to someone, you can have all of me and I will have none for me. You're saying, you can have all of me because I know me, and I know that there will still be enough left in my container for myself to know me, and I know that that doesn't mean that I have to give all of me and erase myself, right? You're not handing your whole person over. You're not doing that. You're handing over the space so that they can see you, and you're willing to be seen, and you're willing to see them, because that energy is freed up in you, because it's not caught up in something else. And that's where codependency can make it really difficult to even say, you can have all of me, because it's not coming from a place that's healthy. It's not coming from a place that's secure within yourself. And that's where I really like this root energy, the stabilization of it, this self-initiation. Again, what's coming to mind is working with your energy centers in terms of self-pleasure and things like that. People get all weird about it, but honestly, it's like, we're all human, and it's not a bad thing. People are like, I've heard this, like the no-fap crowd, and I get it. Like, it's cool. I'm really happy. But I also consider it within the context of a little bit more criticality, where the no-fap movement was based on, and is based on, a lot of literatures from the time where women's sexuality and women's sexual expression was viewed as demonic or devilish or bad. So I feel like that's something I always consider as well. And whatever works for people is what works for people. I'm not here to pass any kind of fucking judgment because if it works for you, then do it, because it means that it's resonating for your energy right now. So anyways, I'm rambling, but still, so that it's coming across here. So if that does resonate for you, maybe it's the no-fap thing you've got to try. I don't know. But what's coming across here is this self-initiation. So it could be that, and it's almost like an inner journey. Like it's like an inner journey that you're going on, or have gone on maybe. And that's why your heart center, it's like the energy finally hit your heart center, and there's been healing taking place there. So I know that there are different techniques that you can use with a self-initiatory process, where you can draw the energy up to your heart center, where it's like you don't necessarily need a partner to be in that space. It can be a different experience altogether working with energy centers in that way. But it's almost like there's something about the heart that's like it's able to just breathe and expand, right? You think about, it's like lungs filling up with air. So justice came out as the thing that you're awakening to. And this is almost like a way of doing right by yourself, right? Where this Seven of Swords would often operate. And that's where maybe this is just like the story of patterns and codependency in ways that you would give so much. And I find too that it's not something that's consistent necessarily with marginalized communities. But being that and I see this with women too. So it's not just like trans folks or queer folks or, people of color that are friends that I've seen. We talk about this too. Like, it's like the expectation is to give, is to like overgive, to, do the identity 101 things and all of that, which is loving and compassionate, but it can also draw on your energy in a way that takes away from your capacity to show up fully. Because you're constantly explaining who you are, so you don't always just get to be it. You don't, you're dodging or trying to get ahead of people's perceptions. So it's like you're in this place of like, when do I ever just get to show up as me without the walls, without all the stuff that gets in the way? And it's not even stuff that's massive, but it's just these patterns. And I feel like that patterning, right? And just reframing it differently. When people ask about like trans 101 conversations, to an extent, I'm okay answering questions and things like that. But there comes a point where you just have to say like, you know what, I don't have the bandwidth for that. And I think it would be best if you Googled it, not to be like, right. And that's not to structure like acceptability and not, but there's something to be said for just boundaries around that, because you deserve to just be you. You deserve to just be free of the ways that people are trying to understand you, and I I promise you that there are times and there are people where you get to just, your walls can come down and you don't have to constantly be on guard to explain or, anything along those lines, because there, yeah. But that's where it's like this justice is coming in. I think this justice card is coming in, to suggest this. There is something to be said here. I think it's quite connected to. I'm looking at the clothing here, right? The patterning in the clothing. So we have the Hierophant, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Justice card. So the Hierophant is almost like this entry point. And again, the root energy is very strong here. So it's like this sense of security that allows you and enables you, frees up your energy to relate to connect with. It's like that foundational energy for yourself where you're secure and you're good. And that opens up something else. And I think it does have to do with self-care and not neglecting yourself, not neglecting your needs, because this is your energy. You've got so much to offer. You have so much to offer, be it with creative projects, in relationship, in friendships, with family. You're like a well. Like I feel like I'm tapping into someone who's like a well of energy for people around them. And you don't have to, like, the thing is that like the well can run dry if it's not being kept up, or so it's like refilling your own cup and making sure that that's a priority, because while you may have a million and one reasons not to, from the past, it's only three swords, but they can become like hundreds of things, experiences that become the pattern, right? This is like the anchoring in of a pattern. And it's like we can break our own hearts when we listen to stories of lack, when we listen to all the reasons why. And I see this as almost like obsessing with trying to it's like trying to do the right thing or be the right thing, when the right thing is just a byproduct of being secure within yourself. And that sounds like such a broad thing. How do you be secure within yourself? Well, like it's really something we learn how to do over a lifetime, especially if, sorry, you might see piles in the back here. I'm packing some things to go away to my granny's for this weekend, for the holiday weekend. But it's like with all of these things here, it's coming across as like you can really skew your idea of doing right by yourself when you look outside of yourself constantly. And that's really what this Devil card is showing up as, because then the beautiful thing here, the big theme, is this Knight of Cups. So to me, it's like, how are you offering love to yourself? Like it's not about giving to other people all the time. Sometimes it's about receiving, and not just receiving in terms of I am going to wait for someone to give to me. It's filling up your cup, and then other people fill it too. And it doesn't happen because of a specific process or something you did. It's just, it is. It's this new way of kind of doing and being love. It's like, it's being love. And it's, I don't know, this is also maybe ways that you're offering of yourself differently. I feel like there's tremendous healing that's taken place for somebody coming to this reading in terms of different patterns and ways of relating, perhaps of also seeing yourself and what you're worth on the job, or the efforts that you put in, right? Like you might say, well, where are the results for the things that I'm putting out there? And the results are their results are funny because they show up, but we're not always prepared or able to recognize them when they do, right? We're not always able to see all of it very clearly. But I feel like you are seeing it very clearly. Queen of Swords, clarifying the Justice and the Knight of Cups. I do feel like you are seeing it quite clearly now. Something's more apparent. Whoa. Something's more apparent. Goodness me. So more apparent is, I think, the healing that you've done. And again, this, like, I feel like this is like, it's all repeating energies here. So it's like you are healing codependent patterns. You are healing perhaps ways of just that you looked outside of you. You looked outside of you. And when you look outside of you, the thing that I've learned is that you feel locked out in the cold because you've locked yourself out of yourself. You've locked yourself out of you. So you can't see that you're outside. You're like outside the church and you're like, it's really friggin' cold out here. But you've locked yourself out of you by saying, what do they think? What's going on with this? And it is quite difficult at times. But I feel like it's like a going within and going inward. And that's this energy here, that's what the healing is. Like, what do you want? What do you want to, thinking about what's the best of the situation that you can call upon? What's the best of a situation that you can reach to for it to be healed, for you to feel healed? Even just a shred of hope if things have been really rough, like looking for that and looking to that as a source of healing. And that's the truth. Like, I feel like there's, yeah. And I think that that's the truth that is going to heal the feeling that people have taken from you. Heal that, like, that people have, taken your energy and been like, what a snack. Like that kind of like, yes, so yes. Right. Like, it's like all the energy vampires, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, um, and again, I think about like how you alert the kind of brutes in the neighborhood. I think the Maya Angelou quote said that like that you're around and that you're ready to be taken advantage of, right? And there are different ways to do it. I'm still refining that myself, but this is kind of an interesting message. It's like asserting yourself and not really taking no for an answer in terms of like your own standards, your own expectations too. One of the things that I've started to say internally is go with God. Go with God. Like if someone is trying to like pull me in to arguments and things like that, it's just like, you know what? Just go with God. It's fine. I don't need to sort this out. There's a higher power working on my behalf today and always. So I don't need to participate in it. And it's like understanding that you don't have anything to defend. And when you do, it's so easy to get hooked into things because you have to justify who you are. You have to explain yourself. You have to prove yourself. You have to do all these things. But you really don't. So, whoa. I'm just going to pull some cards here quickly. Yeah. I feel like on some level, you know this. And this could also just be like the things that you see that you say nothing about. You might feel like this because the High Priestess is kind of a quiet card, right? Quiet energy. Observing, don't absorb. And that's where it's like your intuition is going to communicate things to you in those moments where you just pull back and you don't react. Because I think that the Seven of Swords is coming across here as this sort of reactionary energy. So when it comes to committing to anything, least of all yourself, but that energy of devotion, like when you devote a chunk of your energy to responding to things around you instead of allowing yourself the honor of very rightly being proactive in your energy and with it, there's certain shifts that start to take place when you get into that energy where it's very self-loving, it's nurturing, and you can see in your life that you're creating a life that is based on loving yourself fully and wholly and completely. Because you're no longer catering to the sort of like the trolls. Like think about it in terms of a comedy show, right? Like the comedian can't be on the stage responding exclusively to trolls because there would be no show, right? And people like hundreds of people come to see them. So it's almost like hundreds of your guides, your angels, your ancestors, all of that show up every day to see you shine. So are you going to respond to the trolls in the audience, or are you going to respond to the energy that's there to support you and nurture you? Because 9 times out of 10, I would say like most of the people that you meet in a day actually want to see you do well. They want to experience the best of your energy. But if you're in places where you've acclimated to something else, that needs to be addressed, right? Because that makes it really hard. That's the energy where it's like taking from yourself. And it's like you keep emotional fulfillment from yourself or at bay always, like adjacent to, like you see it, but it's like in a store that hasn't opened yet. You got to buy it. You got to do something. There's got to be a transaction in order for you to access this part of yourself when it's just not true. So then that's on the bottom. Wow. Yeah. I think this is really about, I've heard it said that with the nodal axes, October 25th and November 8th, October 25th is the, solar eclipse in Scorpio, and November 8th is the lunar eclipse in Taurus. And I feel like with the nodal axes shifting, what's ended up happening is a lot, like it's, a lot of what's important to us and what we value and how we allow those things to transform us. As a fixed sign, so many things have changed like that this year for me. So I feel it. And I know that fixed signs are more impacted. So Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. But it's like asking yourself about this devotion piece, Taurus, right? What is it that is really, and this could be something around the lunar eclipse. I'm seeing that with these two energies. I know it's not the moon, but it's coming across as like the starlight is the only thing that will be visible because, but nonetheless, so it's like a shift in values and what's most important to you and how you express value for yourself and how you express and translate the belief that you are worthy and that you're worth it into a life, how that translates into not just who you are, but how you allow people in, how you express connection, how you build relationship, how you do all of these things. That is building a life. When people say, another Maya Angelou quote, she's really strong today, which is wonderful. Every day she could be in every day, but when people show you who they are, believe them, right? And that really hits home in terms of here, where it's like you show people who you are with what is in your life. At times it's out of our control, and we can't. That's not to, again, we're not victim shaming here, nor are we like situation shaming or anything, because we all have things that we're learning, and there are things outside of our control sometimes. But this is really to say that if, I had that the counselor asked me recently, do you love yourself? Like, do you think that you're lovable? And it's like, when you look at your life, when you ask those questions, or people ask those questions of you, how are you answering those questions through, well, yes, because I do this. Yes, because I believe this, but it's also translated into my world in a concrete way through the way that I care for myself. Like it's like that yes, because, right? And you don't have to prove that to anybody, but it's like, how are you answering that question for yourself? I feel like it's a long reading so far already, but it's quite loud. This energy is really, it's quite adamant. So, okay. So I'm going to pull from the Life Loves You deck. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives to close out this beautiful reading about confidence and having faith in ourselves, valuing ourselves deeply, and devoting ourselves to something within but also beyond ourselves as we access greater parts of our energy? I am loved and supported by life. I am loved and supported by life. Notice all the ways you are being supported. Complete this sentence 10 times and do this. Really, really do this. Okay? Notice all the ways you're being supported. Complete this sentence 10 times. Life is supporting me by. Life is supporting me by. Because even in moments where you feel the most alone, you've got spiritual running buddies that you can't see, but that are so very present and ready and waiting to absolutely just spoil the shit out of you. And it's so funny because we think about it in terms of spoiling, but that's just the abundance that's right there all the time. It most often expresses itself to me through like discounts or sales or things like that, because I get all jazzed up. I'm like, what? This thing's like $5. It's normally like 30, whatever, right? Like those silly little things, right? Or for example, getting a survey in my Tim Hortons app and saying, you have an iced coffee for $1. I'm like, every day, all day, I will get that. Thank you. Right. So it's stuff like that where it's those little things where it's like, that's the universe spoiling you. But think about it meaningfully in a day. How is life supporting you? Even on the days where you're like, and like, I know I see this, like this ledge. It's like, I could store shit on here. Like, it's like a mantle. Do you have candles? I could put them up here too. Make sure they're like seasonally appropriate though. Cause I mean, like, it's what, pumpkin spice season or some shit. I don't know. But that's where it's like, I turn into Sam the Eagle, those days where I'm like, and I look contemplative because I'm just annoyed, right? Even on those days, you're still being supported. And it's important to just have fun with it and to be flexible with those low moods too. And not to run from them either. So I'm going to pull one more here. Actually, no, I'll do that. Thank you. I'm going to pull from the Universe Has Got Your Back deck. It makes it sound like the universe has your backyard. It's got your ass. Maybe that's a different way of saying backyard. That's weird. Oh my God. My guides are just like, they're so funny. Like they're just, I swear to you, it's like somebody made a comment the other day and I'm like, yeah, it's like Muppets and Robin Williams. Probably. That's like probably what it is. Spirit, can you illuminate some of the things that we need to know about how you've got our back always? 2 came out. The presence of love will always cast out fear. All right. And, oh, this is great. There's a stream of love supporting my dreams. Yeah. So that's your message for today. Don't forget to love yourself today, my friends. And also, if you're, in Canada and celebrating, and Thanksgiving weekend it can always be different when you're getting together with family. I heard a comedian say once that family puts the FU in fun. And if that's true for you, I hope that you're doing something this weekend that fills your cup and that you have chosen family that surround you, that just light your entire world up. and that you know that you're not alone this weekend, and that you have reminders of that, and that spirit wraps you up in that, in like the most warm of hugs, the tightest of hugs, just to tell you that you're loved and supported. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe some synchronicities will show up, feathers, dimes. For me, it's hearts, right? So whatever it is, I hope it's there to remind you. So yeah, if this resonated, give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel if you're not already. If you are joining me from my subscriber base, thank you. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that you're here. So I really, I really appreciate it. Thank you. As always, wherever this finds you on the time space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very well, my friends. Take care.